Welcome to Van Life with Steve, and thank you so much for joining me for a visit to the spectacularly beautiful Grand Teton National Park. Let's go ahead and right away go with naming all the mountains in the cathedral group, the tallest of which is going to be Grand Teton. You can see the rest of the names of the peaks there. I will mention that Nez Perce is actually east and in front of the South Teton, and just in front of Grand Teton there's Disappointment Peak, but I didn't label it there, so it's a little hard to see in the picture. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the Grand Teton summary. Grand Teton National Park as we know it was established in 1950 by President Truman, which combined the original Grand Teton Park from 1929 that covered the mountains, and then the Grand Teton National Monument, which covered the valley floor. The park sees 2.8 million annual visitors, so it is a busy park. However, I did not experience any problems with crowding in the month of September. The park gives you two incredible iconic landmarks, the Cathedral Group of Mountains, with Grand Teton being the tallest, and you also get the Molten Barn. And in addition to that, you get three magic moments at Schwabacher Landing, the Molten Barn, and Jenny Lake at sunset, and I will show you all three. The park has a wide variety of wildlife, the most famous of which is probably going to be Grizzly Bear 399, who is very famous for having a lot of cubs. There are some great hikes. The signature hike, I would believe, would be Cascade Canyon. There is ample boondocking around the park in the National Forest, where you can actually get some pretty good cell service. In the park, it's a little limited, but you can get great cell service out in the National Forest. I would suggest at least 2 days so you can get great morning photos at Schwabacher Landing and the Molten Barn, but really you could spend 2 weeks in here. And then if you combine Yellowstone, you could have a great vacation visiting here. The nearest town is going to be Jackson, Wyoming, which is really just outside the park, and that gives you a lot of easy access to stores and shopping and stuff like that. And as I mentioned, Yellowstone is very close by. It's just 10 miles north of the park, which offers you a whole bunch of other great outdoor recreational activities there. For those reasons, my recommendation is that Grand Teton National Park is the best park in the national park system, and it is an absolute bucket list location. Go to this park, you'll have a great time. So when I rolled up on Jackson, it was pretty busy, and I had a little bit of anxiety thinking that this park was going to be super packed. I rolled in on a Sunday evening, and there were a lot of people. I believe there was a film festival there, and when I got up the next morning, the park really wasn't crowded at all. I got started right away at Mormon Row. That is the world famous TA Molten Barn, and I got there right at sunrise so I could get there and get a great photo. Let's check it out. And here we have the Thomas Alva Molten Barn. This is the real barn. There are two. You want the one without the fence is the real barn. This barn was made famous by Ansel Adams. It's perfectly framed by the Teton Range there in the background. And when you walk up on it, I know it's just like a little dinky looking barn, but it looks like you're in a living Norman Rockwell painting or something, especially at sunrise. It's just an amazing sight. And again, it's something simple like a barn, but when you see it in person, it's just amazing. I believe there were 3 wedding photo shoots there that morning, but I was able to get all the photos I want. So just north of the TA Molten Barn, you have the John Molten Barn, which was TA Molten's brother. You can also get some great photos up there, and there's some other buildings there on Mormon Row. Some of it, like the stuff at the beginning, you're not actually able to go explore that area. That's blocked off. And from what I understand, the Molten family still owns a tract of land there. Following the Molten Barn, I headed over to Schwabacher Landing, which is along the Snake River, which flows through the middle of Jackson Hole. And again, this is another just absolutely spectacular photo spot. Again, this is like you're in a living painting or a postcard. The way the peaks reflect in the Snake River there is just amazing. Here we'll take an up-close look at each of the peaks of the Teton Range. Here's the middle Teton where it has that little rock intrusion there that creates that kind of scar looking thing look down the face of the mountain. And there you have Grand Teton itself, which is 13,775 feet in elevation. The average floor of the valley is about 6,800 feet, so you're looking at about 7,000 feet of mountain there. But just the jagged summits of each of these mountains, it just creates a very dramatic sight, how it rises above the valley floor. And these could be the most beautiful mountains in America, if not the entire world. And here you're coming back from Schwabacher Landing, gives you another opportunity to get that photo of the mountain range reflecting in the Snake River. And here's the Snake River Overlook. This was also made famous by Ansel Adams, and I believe his original photo from here sold for $4 million or something. But this is also a pretty cool overlook as you drive north in the Jackson Hole Valley. We'll take another up-close look at Grand Teton. If you're enjoying this video so far, I'd really appreciate it so much if you'd please give me a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing and turning on the bell for notifications. I went to 26 national parks, including 25 in 60 days. So I have quite a few more videos that I'm so excited to share with you. Thank you so much, and let's continue with the video. And now we're going to actually formally head into the park. The eastern part of Jackson Hole is actually not within the national park, and so Mormon Row and Schwabacher Landing, you don't go by any entrance stations and you can visit those for free. So I passed the entrance station and headed up to an area where you can see the Snake River, and this is a nice little lunch spot to kind of take a break. We'll take a look at some more overlooks as we drive around the national park here. In the distance there, that is Mount Moran. Here's a look at the Jackson Lake Dam, and I believe this was constructed in 1919. And here's another look at Mount Moran from the Jackson Dam. Here's the Potholes Turnout, and I really didn't get a lot out of this one, to be honest with you. Now we're at the Mount Moran Overlook, and we'll take a closer look at the mountain. So leaving Mount Moran, we're going to head deeper into the park to the Jenny Lake Overlook. This is a spectacular view. In the distance there, that is the Cascade Canyon. So on the other side of Jenny Lake, I understood that there was a waterfall. So I drove down a little bit, got out, and hiked around Jenny Lake. There is a boat you can take across the lake, and I believe one way it's maybe like $14, and round trips maybe 20 or something like that. But the boat service had stopped for the day, so I had to walk around, and it's about 2 miles one way. But the lake is just absolutely spectacular, and it gets a little bit better, so just stick with me. Finally, after a 2-mile hike in the woods, came upon Hidden Falls, and this is a pretty cool waterfall. So leaving the waterfall, I then hiked up to Inspiration Point, where you can get this great overview of Jenny Lake, and this is the starting point to the Cascade Canyon hike, although it was a little bit too late in the day for me to start that hike because, you know, there are bears in those woods. I wouldn't want to run up on one of them at night. Now before I hike back down Inspiration Point and we're going to get another spectacular view of Jenny Lake, I do have to give a shout out and recognize a couple I met while I was up there. Alexis, who I think goes by Lex, and her boyfriend Nate. I met them up there on Inspiration Point, and basically what happened was as I was walking back, I saw some black fur out of the corner of my eye, and I thought that might be a bear, so I kept walking, but Nate walked up and he told me, "Oh, hey, did you see that moose?" So that kind of spoiled the story I was going to tell, because I was going to tell everybody I walked right by a bear. But anyways, I managed to hike back with them, and I was just so thankful for the company hiking back. And also, you know, I'm by myself, and it's a lot safer to hike back, you know, when there might be bears around. The rangers basically told me that odds were I was probably going to run into a bear on that trail. And so just so appreciative to those two. And Lex actually followed me on Instagram, so I appreciate that also. And I hope they're doing well, and maybe I'll see them again sometime. So while I was hiking back with Lex and Nate, I noticed the colors begin to change on the lake, and it just created this amazing sight here with the moon. And again, just similar to Schwabacher Landing and the Molten Barn, this looked like you were in a living painting or a Willy Wonka movie or something. It was just, these colors here were just unbelievable, and that's a sight I'll never forget in my life. So we made it safe out of the woods. Again, I was so thankful to Nate and Lex for for the conversation and for letting me tag along to be safe from bears. And from here, I headed back to Boondock in the forest. Now, like I mentioned, you needed at least 2 days, and so I spent my first morning at the Molten Barn, and I just had to come back to Schwabacher Landing to get the morning sunrise, to see that morning sun on the Teton Range, and it did not disappoint. It's just absolutely spectacular sight here. The mountain range at Schwabacher Landing, just absolutely incredible. This is something you have to see in person. Now, I said I didn't really see any wildlife, and I did have that brush with a moose, but I did come across these ducks here that they were just living it up here in the Snake River. And with that, it's time to leave the park and head to the next adventure. I want to thank you so much for watching this episode. I appreciate you so much, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you, and take care. Bye.